My girlfriend's reckless driving cost me my leg. Then she dumped me because I was disabled. I let her leave. Years later. She is back only to ask me for this, so I took my revenge. Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Hey Reddit. After 6 years with the woman I thought I'd marry, life delivered the ultimate double cross. She caused a crash that cost me my leg. Then while I was learning to walk again, she was already screwing someone else, telling her friends she couldn't stand looking at my stump and that she had needs. She dumped me, but she had no idea what was coming next. Here's how it all went down. I, 31 male, had a good life in Northern California. Not perfect, but solid. IT consultant with a client roster that let me cherry-pick the most interesting projects. At 31, I'd managed to lock down a 2-bedroom condo in Mountain View. In the insane California housing market, just having property put me ahead of most guys my age who were still dumping money into the rental black hole. Basketball has been my religion since middle school. Not watching, playing. 3 nights a week at the community center near my place. Weekend games with a competitive league in South Bay. My college roommate Leo and I had that telepathic connection you only get after a decade on the court together. He'd make those no-look passes that somehow always found my hands, and I knew exactly when he'd cut to the basket. Those games reset my brain after dealing with corporate client drama all week. I'd been with Riley, 27 female, for 6 years. She worked PR for some AI startup, had this confident walk and these sharp comebacks that just hit different. We'd fallen into what I thought was a good rhythm. We did all the typical Bay Area couple stuff. Overpaying for vineyard tours in Napa, hiking trails in Marin that were always too crowded, debating which brunch spot had the most ridiculously overpriced avocado toast. Normal stuff. Every relationship has issues. Hers was jealousy, flaring up whenever I worked late with female clients. She'd drop these passive-aggressive comments about my gym obsession when I chose ball over another mind-numbing work dinner with her startup friends. But I figured that was just standard relationship noise. Background static in what was otherwise a decent connection. The Sunday before everything changed is burned into my memory. Playing 2-on-2 with Leo and some guys from the league. I was in the zone, dropped 24 points, hit the winning 3 from way outside, felt like Steph Curry for about 10 glorious seconds. Grabbed food afterward, talking playoff brackets and stats. Riley had texted 3 times asking when I'd be home, but I figured she could wait. That was my last normal day. The last time I stood on 2 legs. The last day I was dumb enough to think I knew who had my back. The argument started in her parents' driveway in Napa. Riley was pissed I'd been ignoring her all weekend to play basketball. I reminded her that I'd just spent 6 hours making small talk with her dad about his painfully detailed kitchen renovation plans, while her mom showed me the same vacation photos 3 separate times. Traffic was light on Highway 29 as she drove us back toward the city. When my phone buzzed with a text from Lisa, a client with server issues, Riley's knuckles went white on the steering wheel. Let me guess, your work wife needs you again? The edge in her voice could have cut glass. It's a server problem. I'm on call this weekend. I kept my voice level, not wanting to escalate. You're never on call when my parents invite us to dinner, but somehow always available when Lisa needs something. I should have just put the phone away. Instead, I kept typing my response to Lisa. Are you sleeping with her? Riley suddenly demanded. My head snapped up. What? Number she's my client. That's not an answer. Yes, it is. She hired me to fix her company's IT infrastructure. That's it. She accelerated, the Audi jumping forward as her voice got louder. You think I'm stupid? I see how you look at her at company parties. How she always finds reasons to text you after hours. Riley, either stop driving or stop fighting, I said firmly. Pick one. This isn't safe. That's when she fully turned to face me, taking her eyes completely off the road, her face twisted with anger. Don't tell me how to drive my own freaking car. The curve came up faster than she anticipated. The car drifted into the oncoming lane. She overcorrected hard, sending us careening across the highway and straight into the concrete barrier at highway speed. The impact concentrated on the passenger side. My side. Metal crumpled inward, crushing my left leg. There was a moment of searing pain, then nothing. I faded in and out of consciousness in the ambulance. Caught fragments of paramedics talking about severe crush injury and vascular compromise. The next few days blurred together in a haze of surgeries and pain meds. The doctors tried to save my leg, but the damage was too extensive. Blood vessels shredded, nerves destroyed, bone pulverized beyond repair. Infection set in quickly. By day 4, the surgical team stood grimly at my bedside. The infection is spreading rapidly. We need to amputate below the knee or risk septic shock. Just like that, part of me was gone forever. While I was still processing this news, Riley was in the hallway, loudly telling her friends on the phone how traumatized she was by the accident, not once mentioning that her reckless driving caused it. My parents flew in from Chicago the day after the amputation. Mom took one look at my leg and had to step out to compose herself. Dad stayed, his hand gripping mine with surprising strength for a man in his 60s. "We'll get through this," he said, voice steady, despite the tears in his eyes. Dad, the career accountant who'd never missed a day of work in 30 years, immediately filed for family leave. Their retirement savings went straight into a rental near the hospital. Zero hesitation. Mom became my medical advocate overnight, interrogating every doctor who entered the room about infection control and physical therapy protocols. She downloaded medical journals and started dropping terms like phantom limb management and prosthetic options in conversations with the surgical team. The nurses started directing their explanations to her, recognizing she'd retain the information better than I would through the pain med fog. The first month after amputation was pure hell. Constant pain, both from the surgical site and phantom sensations from a leg that wasn't there anymore. Basic tasks like showering became major operations requiring assistance. I moved back to our condo, but it might as well have been a prison. Second floor, no elevator, stairs I couldn't navigate. Riley made a show of playing the devoted girlfriend at first. She'd help me transfer from bed to wheelchair, drive me to medical appointments, pick up my prescriptions. But I caught the micro expressions of disgust when she changed my dressings. The way she'd turn away when I struggled with the simplest tasks. How she'd take calls in another room, her voice dropping to a whisper. Leo was my actual lifeline. He'd come by daily, helping me figure out adaptive ways to handle things, bringing real food instead of the takeout Riley would leave in the fridge. He set up a workspace so I could handle remote consulting gigs. Most importantly, he never once made me feel like a burden. Dad flew back twice that month, staying a week each time to help modify the condo, installing grab bars, rearranging furniture for wheelchair access, building a temporary ramp for the front steps. Mom coordinated everything remotely from Chicago. She sent care packages weekly, always including homemade protein bars she knew I liked for basketball games. Now they were just a reminder of what I'd lost. She also set up a spreadsheet tracking all my medical expenses, insurance claims, and appointment schedules. Mom's organizational skills had always been impressive, but seeing her deploy them as my personal healthcare administrator was something else. The depression hit me like a train. Everything I enjoyed was suddenly impossible. No more basketball, no more hiking, no more independence. The medical bills piled up despite insurance, and the rehabilitation process stretched ahead like an endless dark tunnel. 5 weeks after the accident, I was dozing on the couch after a particularly brutal physical therapy session. The pain meds hadn't fully kicked in, leaving me in that gray zone between sleep and wakefulness. That's when I heard Riley on the phone in our bedroom, thinking I was completely out. "It's disgusting, Jen. I can't even look at it without wanting to throw up." Her voice was clear through the thin wall. "The stump is all red and scarred. There's this special sock thing he has to wear. I feel like I'm dating an invalid." A pause as her friend responded. "No, I can't just break up with him right now. Everyone would think I'm a total witch. I need to wait until he's more stable or it'll look really bad." Another pause. "At least a few more weeks, maybe another month? You should see the way people look at us when we go out. All these pitying stares. Like, is this what my life is going to be? Dating the one-legged man? I didn't sign up for this." My stomach dropped as she continued. "Plus, the sex is over. How would that even work now? He can barely make it to the bathroom alone." A bitter laugh. "And I have needs, you know? That's why I've been going to the gym so much. That new trainer, Sam? We've been talking. He asked me out for drinks next week." "No, I'm going to go. What Jared doesn't know won't hurt him. I deserve some fun after playing nurse for weeks." I lay perfectly still when she came back into the living room, pretending to be asleep. But something had crystallized inside me. In that moment, I saw her clearly for the first time in 6 years. That night, I texted Leo. "Need to talk. Private." His response was immediate. "Be there in 20. For the next week, I watched Riley's performance with new eyes. The way she'd touch my shoulder gently when friends visited, then wipe her hand on her jeans when they weren't looking. How she'd talk about our struggle and staying strong together on social media, then spend hours away from the condo with vague explanations. She started coming home smelling like unfamiliar cologne, claiming it was a new essential oil her friend had recommended for stress. The late-night gym sessions increased. The text notifications she'd quickly silence when I entered the room. What she didn't know was that during her working late or meeting friends times, I'd been making calls to my parents, who immediately connected me with a family friend who practiced personal injury law in California, to Leo's brother Mark, who became my personal legal strategist, to former clients in tech security who helped me set up discrete monitoring systems. Leo helped me install a discrete security cam in the living room that showed her negligence, leaving medications out of reach, ignoring physical therapy routines. For the verbal abuse, I relied on texts and voice memos she left on my phone during arguments. My mom flew out again, ostensibly to help with my recovery, but really to gather evidence, taking photos of my progressing injury, collecting medical records, organizing bills. She'd been an executive assistant for 20 years before retirement, and those skills transferred perfectly to building a meticulous case file. Dad handled the financial aspects remotely, transferring funds to cover what insurance wouldn't, researching prosthetic options I couldn't yet afford. He also started documenting all the modifications he'd made to the condo, keeping receipts for everything from grab bars to the temporary ramp he'd built. These were all expenses directly resulting from the accident. Leo's brother Mark met with me 3 times, always when Riley was out. He was a shark in an expensive suit, taking notes with brutal efficiency as I described the accident and its aftermath. He explained California's negligence laws, comparative fault principles, and how insurance companies typically handled cases like mine. The key, he said, is to stay calm, document everything, and file once you're medically stable. Courts take your condition more seriously when you've shown a clear record of impact and not just emotional revenge. 12 days after overhearing her phone call, Riley came home late, reeking of cologne. She sat down across from me with an expression I recognized, the face people make when they're about to do something shitty, but want to convince themselves they're being noble. "We need to talk," she said, not quite meeting my eyes. I just nodded, waiting. "This isn't working anymore." She took a deep breath. "I've tried, Jared. I really have. But this isn't the relationship I signed up for." "What exactly isn't working?" I kept my voice neutral, curious how honest she'd actually be. She gestured vaguely toward my residual limb. "This whole situation. I'm not cut out to be a caretaker. I'm still young. This is the time I should be enjoying life, traveling, having fun, not changing bandages and pushing a wheelchair." When I didn't respond, she seemed to take it as an invitation to be even more brutal. "I can't be with a one-legged man, Jared. I need someone whole, someone who can keep up with me." Her voice hardened. "The physical attraction is gone. I look at you, and all I see is the accident. All I see is limitation." I still said nothing, which seemed to frustrate her. "Aren't you going to say anything?" I shrugged. "What do you want me to say? That I'll grow my leg back? That I'll magically heal faster to accommodate your schedule?" "That's not fair," she snapped. "I've put my life on hold for weeks taking care of you." "Is that what you've been doing?" I asked quietly. "When you're at the gym with Sam until midnight? Taking care of me?" Her face went pale. "What are you talking about? I'm not as heavily medicated as you think. I hear your calls. I notice the cologne. I'm disabled, Riley, not stupid." She switched tactics immediately, tears filling her eyes. "It's not what you think. Sam's just a friend who's been helping me cope. This has been hard on me too, you know. I'm sure losing your leg would have been much harder," I said flatly. The tears vanished, replaced by cold anger. "You know what? Yes, I've found someone better. Someone who makes me feel like a woman, not a nurse. Sam and I have been seeing each other for weeks, and he's twice the man you are now." I nodded. "Good for you. I hope you'll be very happy together. You should pack your stuff." "That's it? You're not going to beg me to stay? 6 years together and you're just going to let me walk out? What's the alternative? I grovel for you to stay with someone you find disgusting? Someone you've been cheating on while he struggles to relearn how to live? No thanks." Her face twisted with a mixture of relief and insult. Relief that she could leave without guilt. Insult that I wasn't fighting harder. "Fine, I'll be out tomorrow." As soon as she went to bed, I texted Leo and Mark. "She's leaving tomorrow. Green light." The next day, Riley packed her things with cold efficiency. No tearful goodbyes, no reminiscing about our years together. She took her clothes, her electronics, and the small items that were clearly hers. Left behind anything that would be complicated to move. Furniture we'd bought together, kitchen appliances, the expensive TV. "I'll get the rest later," she said, standing at the door with the last of her suitcases. "We'll need to figure out what to do with the condo." "Sure," I agreed easily. "We can discuss that later." She hesitated, maybe expecting more of a reaction. When I offered nothing, she left with a final backward glance. The door clicked shut behind her, 6 years ending not with a bang, but a whimper. I waited until her car pulled away before making the call. She's gone, I told Leo. Tell Mark we're ready. Leo came over within the hour, bringing takeout and a folder of legal documents his brother had prepared. We went through them together, making sure everything was in order. The complaint included detailed accounts of the accident, medical records, police reports stating Riley had been engaged in a verbal altercation with the passenger and had taken her eyes off the road immediately before losing control of the vehicle. Mark had structured the lawsuit to be devastating. We were suing for $1.8 million in damages. It covered all medical expenses past and future, including multiple prosthetic replacements over my lifetime, lost wages from my inability to work during recovery, diminished earning capacity due to my disability, pain and suffering, which is substantial in an amputation case, and finally, loss of enjoyment of life, since my athletic activities were now severely limited. The negligence is clear-cut, Leo explained, channeling his brother's legal expertise. She was driving, she was arguing, she took her eyes off the road. In California, that's textbook reckless driving. We waited 3 days. Just enough time for Riley to start feeling relieved about her clean getaway, to maybe share a celebratory dinner with Sam, to post something on social media about new beginnings. Then the process server delivered the summons and complaint to her at her friend Jen's apartment. According to the server, she turned white as a sheet when she read the documents, then started hyperventilating. Good. Reality was finally setting in. The call started 20 minutes after service. First Riley, her voice shrill with panic. What is this, Jared? $1.8 million? Are you insane? I can't pay that? You know I can't. I let it go to voicemail. She called 17 more times in the next hour. I silenced my phone and focused on my physical therapy exercises. By the next morning, I had 43 missed calls and 28 text messages, each more desperate than the last. By evening, she'd enlisted reinforcements. Her father called, his lawyer-trained voice struggling to sound reasonable. Jared, I understand you're upset about the breakup, but this vindictive lawsuit is completely inappropriate. Riley took care of you for weeks. This was an accident, not a deliberate act. An accident that cost me my leg, my career, my ability to do anything by myself, and pretty much my entire life as I knew it. Actions have consequences, sir. So that's what this is? Punishment because she left you? Number. This is the financial cost of her negligence. The fact that she abandoned me when things got difficult just speaks to her character. It has nothing to do with the lawsuit. Next came her mother, alternating between tearful pleas and angry accusations. You're trying to ruin our daughter's life after everything she did for you. Your daughter ruined my life when she decided to take her eyes off the road at 65 miles per hour, I responded. And what exactly did she do for me? Cheat with her gym trainer while I was learning to live with one leg? That created a telling silence. The next day, Riley showed up at the condo unannounced. I had anticipated this and had Leo there with me. She looked terrible. Please, she begged from the doorway. Not crossing the threshold, Leo blocked. You have to drop this lawsuit. I can't pay even a fraction of that amount. My insurance is freaking out. I'll lose everything. You should have thought about that before you decided to argue while driving, I said. Or before you decided to cheat on me while I was at my lowest. I made a mistake. We all make mistakes. Some mistakes cost more than others. What do you want from me? She cried, mascara streaming down her face. I'll come back. I'll take care of you. I'll do whatever you want. The pathetic offer hung in the air. Once I might have taken it, desperate to not be alone. Now it just disgusted me. I don't want anything from you except what the court determines is fair compensation for what I've lost. This isn't negotiable. Sam left me as soon as he heard about the lawsuit, she admitted, as if this might earn my sympathy. He said he doesn't want to be involved with someone who has this kind of legal trouble. Sounds like a stand-up guy, Leo commented dryly. Real keeper. Please leave, I told her. Any further communication should go through my attorney. Her face hardened, the mask of contrition falling away. You planned this all along, didn't you? Letting me think I was getting away clean, then hitting me with this lawsuit? No, Riley. You planned everything when you decided I wasn't worth staying with after the accident you caused. I'm just making sure you pay the bill. After she left, Leo looked at me with a hint of admiration. Remind me never to cross you, man. I'm just getting started, I replied. The legal process moved slowly but inexorably. Riley's insurance covered their policy maximum of $300,000, which barely made a dent in my mounting medical expenses. Her attempt to claim that I had contributed to the accident by distracting her with the argument was quickly dismissed by her own insurance company, who had reviewed the police report. For the remaining $1.5 million, we entered mediation. Her lawyer tried to paint her as a caring girlfriend who had been traumatized by the accident and overwhelmed by the caretaking responsibilities. Then, Mark presented transcripts and witness testimony, statements Riley had made in texts, overheard by friends, and corroborated by screenshots of chats she'd carelessly left open on our shared laptop, admitting to cheating with Sam. The mediator's expression remained neutral, but the shift in the room was palpable. My parents attended every mediation session, sitting stoically behind me, my dad's hand occasionally squeezing my shoulder when Riley's lawyer tried to paint her as the victim. Their presence was a silent reminder of what family loyalty actually looked like. At one particularly tense session, Riley broke down crying, claiming she'd been under tremendous stress and hadn't meant the things she'd said. My mother, who had remained silent through previous meetings, finally spoke up. "My son lost his leg because of your recklessness. He didn't get the luxury of breaking down. He had to learn how to live a completely different life while you were out dating your trainer. Your stress means nothing to us." Riley never looked directly at my mother again after that. 14 months after filing, we reached a settlement. $950,000 to be paid over 15 years, secured by a lien against her future earnings and property. Not the full amount we'd asked for, but enough to ensure I'd never have to worry about affording medical care or prosthetic replacements. With the settlement finalized, I focused on rebuilding, moved to a single-level house in Sacramento with accessibility modifications, found a way to grow my IT consulting business by specializing in remote work solutions, got fitted for a high-end prosthetic that gave me back much of my mobility. The physical therapy was brutal, but I attacked it with the same intensity I used to bring to basketball. I started with basic balancing exercises, progressed to walking with parallel bars, then crutches, then a cane. Every milestone felt like winning a championship game. When I took my first unassisted steps with the prosthetic, my physical therapist actually got misty-eyed. "Most patients take 6 months to get where you are in 3, he told me. "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." What I was doing was treating recovery like the most important project of my career. I created spreadsheets tracking my progress, set up a home gym with specialized equipment for amputees, downloaded research papers on biomechanics and prosthetic advancements, joined online forums where other amputees shared their experiences and tips. After a year, I could drive again, which restored a huge chunk of my independence. After 18 months, I could shoot hoops with Leo, though competitive games were still beyond my capabilities. The first time I sank a three-pointer post-amputation, Leo tackled me in celebration, then immediately panicked that he'd broken my prosthetic. The prosthetic was fine. We weren't. We laughed until we were both gasping for air. Leo remained my rock throughout. When I finally returned to our old court to watch a game, the guys welcomed me back like nothing had changed. They'd ask about the prosthetic out of genuine curiosity, not pity. One of them, a mechanical engineer, was fascinated by the hydraulic components and bombarded me with technical questions. Another guy started calling me Terminator because of the carbon fiber components. Those moments of normalcy were worth more than any settlement. 2 years after the accident, my life looked nothing like before, and that wasn't entirely bad. The settlement money had given me the freedom to take risks I wouldn't have otherwise. I'd pivoted my IT consulting to focus on accessibility solutions for tech companies. Between my personal experience and technical background, I found a niche that was both profitable and personally meaningful. I'd developed software that helped companies comply with accessibility requirements, not just as legal checkboxes, but as genuine improvements to user experience. My client list grew to include several Fortune 500 companies who valued my unique perspective as both a tech expert and a disabled user. I hired 2 other consultants with disabilities, building a team that brought authentic lived experience to the work. My high-end prosthetic had become part of my identity. I stopped hiding it under long pants and started wearing shorts to meetings. The titanium and carbon fiber leg actually became a conversation starter, an instant filter that weeded out the shallow people from the ones worth knowing. I'd even had it customized with a subtle circuit board pattern along the side, a nod to my tech background. I'd converted my new Sacramento house to include a specialized home gym. While I couldn't play full-court basketball anymore, I'd developed a modified workout routine that kept me in decent shape. Leo still came over twice a week for what we called half-court therapy, shooting drills and light one-on-one play that worked within my limitations. My parents had finally stopped their weekend check-in calls every single Saturday, dropping back to once a month. Dad had stopped asking if I needed any help with the bills, and Mom no longer sent care packages with medical supplies she'd read about online. Progress, in its way. They'd visited for Thanksgiving, and for the first time, They didn't wince when they saw me stand up from the table. Small victories. Dating with a prosthetic had its challenges, but it also simplified things in unexpected ways. It immediately revealed who could see past the amputation and who couldn't. After a few awkward first dates that went nowhere, I met Ellie at a tech convention in San Francisco, where my company had a booth. She was a physical therapist specializing in amputee rehabilitation, so my prosthetic wasn't new territory for her. When I made a self-deprecating joke about it during our first dinner, she just rolled her eyes. That's a $95,000 precision-engineered limb with better ankle articulation than most natural legs, she said. Do you know how many of my patients would kill for that model? It's actually kind of hot. She asked intelligent questions about my recovery process, nodded with professional appreciation when I described my home workout adaptations, and then, most importantly, moved on to other topics. We talked about hiking spots in Northern California, debated the merits of different programming languages, and discovered we shared an embarrassing love for cheesy sci-fi movies. 6 months into our relationship, and things were solid. She understood the phantom pain nights without explanation, knew when to help and when to let me struggle through something on my own, and never made me feel like I was broken or incomplete. When we moved in together, she reorganized her apartment for better accessibility without making a big deal about it. Just quiet, practical adjustments that made my life easier. I didn't think about Riley much anymore, but occasional updates filtered through mutual friends. Her life had imploded after the lawsuit. The settlement payments had forced her to move back in with her parents in Napa. She'd lost her PR job when the company did a background check and found news articles about the case. Her credit was ruined, making it impossible for her to rent her own place or get a car loan. She'd started dating some investment banker she met at a bar in San Francisco, a guy who apparently hadn't bothered to Google her before getting involved. According to our mutual friend Chris, she'd been trying to rebuild her life, even talking about moving to Seattle with the new boyfriend. Then karma struck with surgical precision. Chris called me on a random Tuesday night. Dude, did you hear about Riley? No, what happened? I was only half interested, scrolling through client emails while we talked. She was at her boyfriend's place in the city. They were cooking dinner, and she knocked over a pan of hot oil, caught fire, and splashed all over the right side of her face and neck. I stopped scrolling. Jesus Christ. Is she okay? Alive, yeah. But her face? Man. Second and third degree burns. They're saying she'll need multiple surgeries, skin grafts, the works. And get this, her boyfriend bailed, ghosted her while she was still in the hospital, told their friends he couldn't handle looking at her, and didn't sign up to be a caretaker. The symmetry wasn't lost on me. That's intense. Yeah, her parents had to come get her from the hospital. She's back living with them again. Chris paused. Thought you'd want to know. I thanked him for the update and hung up, sitting with the news. I didn't feel the satisfaction I might have expected, just a hollow recognition of how quickly life can change, how fragile our bodies are, how conditional some people's love turns out to be. 4 months passed. I was working from home when the doorbell rang, probably a package delivery. I opened the door without checking and froze. Riley stood on my porch. The right side of her face was a landscape of angry red scars and uneven skin grafts. Her once symmetrical features were now distorted, the corner of her mouth pulled down in a permanent grimace. She'd tried to cover it with makeup, which somehow made it more jarring. Hi, Jared, she said quietly. I stood there, unable to find words, my brain struggling to reconcile this person with the woman I'd known for 6 years. Can we talk? She asked. I hesitated, then stepped back, holding the door open. She walked past me into the living room, her eyes darting around, taking in the accessible modifications. Nice place, she said, clearly uncomfortable. Thanks. I gestured to the couch. You can sit. She perched on the edge of the sofa. I took the armchair across from her, my prosthetic leg visible below my shorts. She looked at it briefly, then away. I don't know how to start this, she said finally. I've been thinking about what to say for weeks. I waited, not making it easier for her. Her eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry, Jared, for everything, for the accident, for how I treated you after, for the things I said. The tears spilled over, tracking through her makeup. I was shallow and cruel and selfish. I didn't understand what you were going through. I said nothing, watching her. Then this happened, she gestured to her face. And suddenly I was the one people couldn't look at, the one my boyfriend couldn't stand to touch, the one with medical bills and pain, and a body that wasn't the same anymore. Her voice broke, and all I could think about was how I'd done exactly the same thing to you when you needed me most. She wiped at her tears with shaking hands. I know there's nothing I can say to make it right. I know you don't owe me forgiveness, but I needed you to know that I understand now. and I'm genuinely sorry. I studied her for a long moment. The universe had delivered a poetic kind of justice that no court could have arranged. I forgive you, Riley, I said finally. Relief flooded her face. Really? After everything I did? I forgive you, I repeated. But that doesn't mean there's anything to fix between us. That chapter is closed? She nodded, wiping away more tears. I know. I'm not asking for that. I couldn't move forward without telling you, without owning what I did. How are you doing? I asked, surprising myself with the genuine concern in my voice. With the recovery, I mean. It's hard, she admitted. The pain, the stares, the pity. Insurance doesn't cover all the reconstructive surgeries I need. I can't get a job because no one will hire me for customer-facing roles anymore. She gave a bitter laugh. It gets better, I said. Not the same, but better. You adapt. We talked for another 30 minutes. Not as former lovers, but as two people who shared the unique experience of having their bodies permanently altered in an instant. When she left, I didn't feel the anger I'd carried for so long. I deserved to be free of that weight. Holding on to that bitterness had been an unnecessary burden that only slowed me down. A few hours later, Ellie came over with takeout. As we finished eating, she leaned over and kissed me, then pointed to my prosthetic. You know what I've been thinking? We should get that thing painted. Something badass. Maybe flames. Or a biomechanical design. I laughed. You're serious? Hell yes! If you've got to have a titanium leg, might as well make it the coolest leg in Sacramento. The idea took root. 2 weeks later, I found a custom prosthetic cover designer who specialized in artistic shells for high-end prosthetics. We settled on a design that combined circuit board patterns with subtle mechanical details that made it look like some advanced tech from a sci-fi movie. When it was finished, it looked less like a medical device and more like a piece of cutting-edge tech I'd chosen to wear. The first time I wore it to a client meeting, the CEO's son happened to be in the office. The kid took one look at my leg and blurted out, "That is the sickest thing I've ever seen." His father looked mortified, but I just laughed and let the kid ask all his questions. My business continued to grow. Companies started seeking me out specifically because of my experience, not despite it. I hired 3 more consultants, built a reputation for honest, practical accessibility solutions, and watched my bank account grow steadily. Later that night, lying in bed with Ellie sleeping beside me, I thought about how far I'd come from those dark days after the accident. The people who remained in my life were the ones who mattered. The work I did now had a purpose beyond just paying bills. Life wasn't perfect. I still had phantom pain some nights. There were still places I couldn't easily go, activities I had to modify or skip entirely. But those limitations were just facts, not defining features. My leg wasn't coming back, but I wasn't missing anything essential. The core of who I was remained intact, and everything else was adaptation.